I told you guys. I told you guys. Last week, look at my video after the Eagles game. The Saints tricked us. Go through the comments. See how many of those comments were calling me a fake fan and giving me crap saying I'm only a fair weather fan. I only like the good times and the bad times. Better not switch up. What do you know? The Saints shoot themselves in the foot and lose yet another game. A game that they should have won. But they decided to hand it to the Atlanta Falcons. The Saints tricked us. Those first 2 weeks were so great, and now we're back to being mid. We went from a historical number scoring points per game to 2023. The Saints gave this game away to the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons had no business winning this game or being in this game, and yet the Saints found a way to lose. And also, the Saints had no business winning this game either. Coincidentally, the Saints didn't even allow a touchdown today, at least on defense. I mean, the last time a team scored 24 points and gave up 0 offensive touchdowns and still lost was in 1983, and guess who that was? The Saints. The Saints defense this season has allowed 4 total touchdowns, 1 in the last 2 weeks, and we are 2-2. The Saints today had more first downs, more plays, more drives, more passing yards, more rushing yards, more total yards, more offensive touchdowns, were better in the red zone, had less penalties, and still found a way to lose. Good teams find ways to win, bad teams find ways to lose, and the Saints are showing signs of their true selves. And only the Saints could pull something like this off so stupidly, and it started off with a Rashid Shaheed muffed punt, making a boneheaded play, fielding the first punt of the game after the Saints defense made a pretty nice stop. He decided to fair catch and field a punt inside the 5-yard line. That by itself is stupid, but then he muffed the punt into the end zone and the Falcons were able to score a touchdown. Not only was that play bad enough, but later on in the game, the Falcons punt returner was mocking Rashid Shaheed after he fair caught a punt and was practicing fair catching a punt. So that was bad enough already. But despite Rashid Shaheed fumbling the bag and giving the Falcons a free touchdown, the Saints offense was able to bounce back and score on their first opening 2 drives, despite half the offensive line being dead. Eric McCoy is out for 8 weeks. Cesar Ruiz might be out for like 3 weeks. Trevor Penning is Trevor Penning. Lucas Patrick and Talise Fuaga, I think, are good players, but there's obviously going to be bad plays and bad moments, as we saw in this game. But honestly, even though half the offensive line was dead, I thought the offensive line wasn't horrible today. They allowed Derek Carr to throw the ball. I thought they did a decent job protecting him. Obviously, there were bad moments. And the offensive scheme today was to throw quick screens, quick passes, and not allow the blitz to get to him. But I thought overall they did a solid, a C+ kind of job. And in the running game, I thought they did a decent job. They did better than the Falcons in both categories. And on those 2 opening drives, the offensive line played a huge part. They allowed Taysom Hill to run in a touchdown, and then on the next drive, run in another touchdown, while the running game was cooking with Alvin Kamara, who was playing today with broken ribs. Even he said, though, that not playing today was never a consideration, despite him being in contract negotiations with the Saints. 29 years old, a guy who could have just been like Jamar Chase, chose to play, put the team first over him. What a great player and a great teammate. He deserved better today from the team around him. Then near the end of the first half, the Saints found themselves in prime position to maybe position themselves in a great spot to win this football game. They were up 14-10. The Atlanta Falcons had just kicked a field goal. 10 minutes left in the half. They had the ball. If they scored, left a little bit amount of time, then they would get the ball back in the second half. The Saints were bound to put themselves in position to win this game. Unfortunately, though, on that drive, Derek Carr threw a pick 6 to the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I don't want to necessarily blame anyone on this play. Like, it's just a good defensive play. I think Matthew Judon just reads it perfectly. But what I would like to say, Derek Carr pump fakes. So he obviously sees that there is a guy right in front of him. And then he proceeds to throw the screen. And even if it goes through, the cornerback who is blitzing over Chris Olave looks like he's about to read it and possibly get an interception or make a play on it. But I also, on the other hand, if it's completed, Olave has so much space and then has blockers ahead. So I really don't know how to feel about this play other than it's just an unlucky play. And that would be the second and last touchdown of the day for the Atlanta Falcons, scoring on a muffed punt and then scoring on a pick six. So I don't really know whose fault it is. It might just be an unlucky play. But nonetheless, it did not work. And something else that was not working was Clint Carmichael. Man, did he call a pretty bad game after Taysom Hill left. But we'll get to that. I mean, just watching the game and looking through tweets and stuff, every time the Saints ran the ball to the right, it didn't work. And every time they ran the ball to the left, it worked. And at one point, the Saints had ran the ball to the right side outside 7 times and to the left side outside once. Clint Carmichael, ladies and gentlemen. On top of that, he would call stupid toss plays from shotgun. For example, we have this 3rd down and 3 in the shotgun, and he pitches it to the right side. I do not agree with that play call at all. I don't know what scenario you got to be in to basically run the ball on 3rd and 3 in shotgun and position yourself to basically have to get 7 yards off a shotgun pitch instead of just running it from single back like a normal play. Then near the end of the game, on 3rd and goal on a very, very important play in the game, he calls a 3rd and goal from the 5-yard line run to the right side, which didn't go anywhere. I mean, I really don't know what type of play call this is. I get you want to establish the running game, but this is absurd. This is some Clint Carmichael. No, not even Clint. This is P. Carmichael style right here. I don't know what this is trying to do. Running to the right side did not work all day. And let alone running the ball on 3rd and goal from the 5 when the game is this close and you have this much time left in the game just simply doesn't make any sense. Also, can we just talk about how on the final Saints drive, how they try to QB sneak it with Derek Carr like Drew Brees did, try to leap over? That dude is not Drew Brees. Don't ever try to do that again. I thought those 2 plays were so stupid live. But back to Clint Carmichael, his play calling went to shit once Taysom Hill went out of the game with an abdomen injury and was ruled out. It just seemed like he didn't know what to do with Taysom Hill. The first 2 weeks, Taysom Hill played, I think, the full game or close to it, and Taysom Hill and the Saints scored 91 points in the first 2 weeks. In these past 2 games, Taysom Hill was not able to play the full game, and the Saints are now 0-2 in those games. Pretty obvious Taysom Hill is important to Clint Kubiak in this system, in this team, but at the same time, there's no way one guy goes out and you cannot adjust and make adjustments to win this game. The only player who should get injured and you cannot find a way to win should be the starting quarterback. Now, speaking of starting quarterbacks, Derek Carr versus Kirk Cousins. This was the battle of the mids. It was a mid-off. I mean, their stats are basically identical. I mean, they basically threw the same amount of passes. Derek Carr had 7 more completions, only 1 more yard. That just proves like Derek Carr might just be a check down merchant. And they both were sacked 1 time, both threw 1 interception. Now, let me just say one thing. I do not think this game is necessarily Derek Carr's fault. I don't think we lost this game because of Derek Carr. However, Derek Carr did not do good enough for the Saints to win this game. Hence, he is a game manager, a system quarterback, a bridge quarterback. He is simply not good. He's not bad. He is mid. He is a game manager. He's just Jimmy Garoppolo with a better arm. And he also really sucks under pressure. I mean, most quarterbacks under pressure suck, but Derek Carr takes it to a whole new level. All you have to do is really look at this graphic right here, which really tells the story of Derek Carr when he's blitzed versus not being blitzed. Now, Derek Carr had some nice and some bad moments. Like, he had some nice passes to Rashid Shaheed, had some nice moments rolling out of the pocket. But overall, I think I saw probably more negatives than positives from Derek Carr in this game. For example, on a very important 3rd down before the end of the first half, he missed Chris Olave on a wide open crossing route, looking for Rashid Shaheed, and the pass wasn't even close. It feels like Derek Carr tries to force the ball to Rashid Shaheed and get the explosive play rather than feeding Chris Olave, and we'll get to Olave in just a moment. He also missed Chris Olave on this touchdown pass, and they ended up not scoring any points on this drive. Olave was running a little slants kind of thing. No one was in the middle of the field, but he chose yet again to throw it to Rashid Shaheed. And even simple stuff like this, like he just missed and threw a duck on a screen pass to Alvin Kamara. He also missed Juwan Johnson on a wide open touchdown on 4th and goal because guess what? He was throwing to Rashid Shaheed and it ended up being incomplete. I mean, Juwan Johnson, this is as open as anyone is ever going to get in the NFL. There's a defender kind of in the background, but if Derek Carr just throws it to Juwan Johnson, leads him to the middle of the field, it's a touchdown and the Saints might win this game. But yet again, Derek Carr force feeds Rashid Shaheed as if he's Devontae Adams and it falls incomplete. He also threw yet another hospital ball. This time it was to Alvin Kamara. This was an issue last year. It got Michael Thomas injured last year. Got Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed injured in the Falcons game last season. And today he threw a hospital ball to Alvin Kamara. And let me remind you, he's playing with broken ribs and yet he's still out there playing, taking hits like this because the quarterback put it in a bad spot. Now, something I would like to know is why the Saints are not getting the ball to Chris Olave more often. The dude, every time the ball's thrown his way, makes a play, makes the catch, not a worry. Why are they not getting him the ball more? Malik Neighbors has like 50 targets. Chris Olave needs more. He needs to be involved so much more. He is the best player on the team. He should be getting the ball once per drive. They should be game planning around Chris Olave the same way how the Saints game planned for Michael Thomas from like 2016 to 2019. They would game plan to get him the ball 12 times a game, and right now they're not doing that for Olave, and it's really ruining his ability to show people how good he really can be. I mean, the dude, I believe, now has 3 straight weeks with 80 yards, and that's with him not even getting like 15 targets or 10 catches. He's a playmaker. Get him the ball. He had a really nice catch over the middle in a critical situation that was called back because of a Rashid Shaheed penalty. All my concerns about Olave making contested catches and getting yards after the catch, I think they're still a little bit there, but I've seen a lot of growth from Chris Olave in those areas of his game. He's grown as a blocker. I really like the progression I've seen from Chris Olave in his game and his development. The only issue is the quarterback and the offensive coordinator do not want to throw him the football. Now, at one point, Chris Olave did leave the game due to a hamstring injury. He came into the game questionable with a hamstring injury, powered through it, and he left the game for a little bit, but it's not like it matters. The Saints don't throw the ball to him anyway. And shout out to whoever left that comment on my stream. I know I can't remember your name, but I knew I needed to give you some props for that joke. While we're giving Chris Olave and that dude who left that comment some props, why don't we give some other players some props? Alvin Kamara had a pretty nice game as well. So did Taysom Hill until the injury. I think Rashid Shaheed on offense had a quiet good game, 8 catches for 80 yards, but really did not do enough or much because his one touchdown on the day came to the Atlanta Falcons, and he was really never able to make up for that mistake. This is yet another week that the Saints could have used a physical pass catcher like Michael Thomas to make plays over the middle, quick game and stuff like that, with the offensive line being hurt. Or even a tight end would be nice. I mean, look, we got George Kittle today catching a touchdown in triple coverage, and meanwhile we got Juwan Johnson on his way to make another TikTok. Now, I will say he had one nice play, but it was called back due to a Trevor Penning penalty. Both him and Talise Fuaga, I think, had a rough day when it came to the penalties. Also, Juwan Johnson, I really don't know what happened here. Just learn how to stay in bounds, and you have a whole lot of space to run. Also, Derek Carr needs to throw a better ball. Now for the defense. I saw people complaining about the Saints defense and how they didn't come up clutch. And let me just say this. If you are blaming the defense for this game, then you need to reevaluate how you think and watch football. The Saints defense today allowed 0 touchdowns and gave up 12 points and had a turnover. They did their job. They gave up 12 points. If your offense cannot score more than 12 points, if your special teams is muffing punts and your quarterback is throwing pick sixes, That is not on the defense. It wasn't all pretty, but they did their job. Just like last week, they bent but didn't break. There were some plays where I was like, okay, like, what are you doing? Like, for example, the play Tyler Algier broke freaking 10 tackles for a first down. No one wanted to tackle him. There's also a drive where the Falcons could just continue to run the ball nonstop on the Saints. And this is where the Saints were missing Demario Davis, Willie Gay, and Tyrann Mathieu, who all three of them were injured and at some point did not play. Demario was already out for this game. Willie Gay left the game early, and so did Tyrann Mathieu. So the Saints were out a lot of good players, but yet the defense still did their job and only allowed 12 points. Now, the Saints were missing 3 star players, but they were also missing their pass rush today. The Atlanta Falcons were missing one of their starting tackles and their starting center, and yet the only guy to get a sack on the day was Peyton Turner. Of all players who could get a sack today, it had to be Peyton Turner. Wow. Also, it was a strip sack, and the ball bounced right into Nathan Shepard's gut, and yet he still was not able to recover the fumble, and Atlanta would end up kicking a field goal that drive, which played a huge factor into the final score. Like I said, when we signed Chase Young, he's either going to be good or really bad. He was not good today. He's a brand name Marcus Davenport. Chase Young and the defensive line simply just did not make enough plays today, didn't get sacks, and they were not able to come through for the team. Just like Paulson Adebo, who was the guy getting picked on all day long. Last season might have been fake. His interceptions versus Tyson Bagent and playing good against Joshua Dobbs really fooled us all. Last year, when we played a real offense like the Rams and we got cooked, I was like, okay, this might be fake. This season, Paulson Adebo has been the weakest link in the secondary without a doubt. Cowboys game, Eagles game, this game, Paulson Adebo is the liability in the secondary. Marshawn Lattimore and Alontae Taylor did their jobs all day. Lots of pass breakups, good coverage, making really nice tackles. Paulson Adebo, really bad day today. I mean, he was giving up plays all day. Yes, he came up with an interception, had a few nice pass breakups. I mean, both of his interceptions this season, though, came when the wide receiver fell. It wasn't like he made an excellent play. The receiver fell and he just happened to be at the right spot. He gave up a whole bunch of plays, one where he even committed a penalty and it was still caught. He was missing tackles, committing penalties. And of course, to finish off the game, he had a pass interference penalty that set the Falcons up in field goal position. I mean, this is just a stupid play, and you can even see him celebrating after the penalty because he thought he had good coverage, when in reality it's very clear it was a pass interference. Also, one final note, can we please stop giving the ball to Jamal Williams? And I would also like to know why at the end of the game they returned the kick instead of letting the offense go out there and do some trick plays. I simply don't get the logic behind that. The way I look at it, the offense did their job for 25% of the game, while the defense did their job for 99% of the game. And if you blame the defense, I simply have no words for you. The defense did their job. The offense didn't reward them. Bottom line is, good teams find ways to win these games. Bad teams find ways to lose. The Saints proved today that they might just be a bad team. They gave the Falcons 2 free touchdowns and they were not able to overcome them. The play calling was bad. The offensive line could have been better. The quarterback play could have been better. And the offense just refuses to get the ball to their best player, Chris Olave. I mean, the Saints should not need their defense to play a literal perfect game in order for them to win football games. That's practically impossible and reasonably not realistic. And now the Saints get ready to head to Kansas City on Monday Night Football. And then they play Tampa Bay on a short week with a beat-up roster. There's going to be a lot of injuries. Obviously, that plays a factor into this game as well. But now they're on a 2-game losing streak, and things are not looking good moving forward right now, like, at all. Subscribe to my channel, Cash Sports, for more daily NFL content. Have a good one. Peace.